Hi there, welcome. So today I'm going to show you how to create this simple flyer. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is to create the canvas. So you want to go to File and then you want to click on New. And you want to make sure that your width is 10, height, we're going to change that to 12, resolution will be 300, and notice my dimensions are in inches. So we're going to hit create, and we're going to zoom in. Okay, so the background is transparent. So we're going to pick up our paint bucket with our foreground as white. We're going to paint that in. And now we want to bring in our background images. So we're going to go to our folder and we are going to click on this image. And I'm just going to drag, release. I'm going to set it right there. And then I'm going to go back to my folder. We're going to drag this other image in and we're going to set that right here. And I'm going to zoom out and we want to scale this a little. We want to set it somewhere like that. And I'm going to move it up just a little. We're going to double click to deselect. We're going to zoom in and we are going to click on this image. But before we do that, we want to take our eraser and then making sure that the layer is selected, we are going to erase. So I'm going to increase my brush head. And now I'm just going to brush this area. And now we are going to click on our top image and we are going to select our move tool and we're going to scale this layer, which is the bottom image. And with my brush, I'm just going to brush it off just a little bit more. We want to click on our top image and we want to reduce the opacity. So we want something like this. And we are going to do the same thing for the bottom image. We're going to reduce the opacity. We're going to take it down to, let's say, 55. And notice that now you can begin to see the top image where it ends. And we don't want that. So we're going to pick up our eraser tool. And we are going to click OK to convert the image to a smart object. Now we can erase. So we want to have a gradual faded effect between the two images. I'm going to brush it a little bit more. So we have something like this. So the next thing that we are going to add is a gradient effect. So we want to make sure that we are on our top layer and we are going to go to adjustment levels, add gradient, and we want to double click on our gradient color. We're going to double click on our stop, change our color. We want a more of a deep blue-ish color. We're going to click OK, and then I'm going to click OK. I'm going to double click here. And then we want to change that color to also the same blue. And I'm going to click OK. We're going to click OK. And I'm going to change the angle of this just a little so you can see that the effect of the gradient is almost on the vertical side. And I'm going to click OK. I like the way it looks. We're going to zoom in. And now the next thing we're going to do is bring in our subject. So I'm going to go to my folder and I'm going to drag in this subject. And I'm going to set him right there. And I'm going to double click to deselect. You want to pick up your quick select tool. You want to click on select subject. And Photoshop is going to cut out the subject for you. And if you don't have a lot of work to do, in this case, we don't. So I'm going to click on the layer mask. So it's going to take off the background for me. To brighten up our subject, you want to make sure you have your image selected. you want to go to Image, Adjustment, Brightness, and Contrast, and you want to take your brightness up. You want to also take your contrast up a little so you get a very rich and bright image. We're going to click OK. I'm going to click on my Move tool, and we are going to rescale our subject. I like the size. I'm going to leave him like that. We're going to go ahead and, first of all, we want to take our eraser tool, and we are going to smoothen our subject so we get rid of the bottom part. So we are going to go back to our working file, and I'm going to pull in this other subject. I'm going to release, and we are going to scale. I'm going to double click, and this time I want to reverse my subject. So I'm going to go to Image, Transform, and I'm going to choose Flip Horizontal. And I'm going to click on my Move tool, move my subject closer. I'm going to go to Quick Select tool and then click on Select Subject. And then again, Photoshop is going to cut out our subject for us. We're going to take our eraser tool. We're going to convert our image to Smart Object, and we are just going to erase slightly so everything blends in. Okay, so now that we have this all set, there is one more thing that we want to add to the background. So we're going to type in the word X. So I'm going to type in X cups, and notice that this font is actually Erase Bold ITC. So this font is Erase Bold ITC. So with my text tool, I'm going to scale this. I'm going to zoom out. So what I'm going to do, we're going to move this font to the bottom, and I'm going to reduce the opacity. We're going to take it all the way down. So we have that in the background, but also it's not too empowering. So something like this. I'm going to zoom in, and what I'm going to do to keep this text from interfering with all the layers I'm going to bring in, I'm going to click on this image, right click, convert it to a smart object. So now it's no more a text, but it's actually an image. So from here, we want to now begin to add our theme. So the theme is total experience. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on my text tool, and I'm going to type in experience. I'm using the same font, Erase Bold ITC. So I'm going to type in experience, all caps. And now experience. So we are missing the X. You're right. Yes. So I'm going to use a different font for that. So I'm going to type that in X. So we're going to highlight, and we're going to change this font, and we're going to go for a different font, and that font is Gloss and Bloom. And I'm going to click on my text tool, and I'm going to scale it just like that. And I'm going to move it just a little. I'm sure now you know why I did the X, the big X in the background. So this is a total experience. So I wanted to use the theme of the title to add a little bit more to the background. So now that we have this, we want to also add total. So I'm going to type in total. I'm going to highlight. So Erase Bold ITC, just the same font that we use for the title. I'm going to increase that a little, and I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to change the color. I'm going to go for more of the red in the background of our subject, And we are going to do something like this. And what I'm also going to do is that I want to add a little bit more color to our X. So I am going to click on our X, and then I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to add a new layer on top, and I'm going to change my background color to orange, almost like a yellow mustard. So we have these two colors. I'm going to pick my gradient tool. With my gradient selected, you want to first of all make sure that you are on the right gradient. So this is showing from solid to transparent. So we want to go for the basic, but we want to go from solid. We want to have both colors showing. So now that I have that selected, we are going to create a gradient right here. I'm going to do it from red to the yellow. And you want to hold down your Alt and you want to clip that to your text below. I'm going to press Ctrl D to deselect. I'm going to zoom out. So now we have this interesting text. So I'm going to highlight this text and I want to change it. I'm going to click OK. So we have something like this. This is really good. So we have total experience. And now I'm going to pick my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to create a new layer, and we are just going to go ahead and create a very thin rectangle line beneath our text. And then I'm going to pick my paint bucket and I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to press Ctrl D to deselect. So we have something like this. I really love the way it looks. I'm going to zoom in and we are going to add some more text. So I'm going to click somewhere here. So we change our font to Lucida and I'm going to go ahead with my caps on. I'm going to type in. So now I'm going to scale this down and I'm going to move it and set it right here. I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to highlight and we're going to make that color white by just clicking on these two icons. So it flips your foreground and background to white and black. So now that we have this, I just moved it up just a little. I'm going to zoom out so you can see. This is looking really good. So we want to add the name of the church on top. So I'm going to make a duplicate of this. And I'm going to move that all the way up. And I'm going to highlight and we're going to just change. So now that we have this, we're going to move this and set it all the way up, something like this. And you want to make sure that you center your text, you align, things should line up because you're telling a story and you want whoever's looking at the flyer to begin to read your thing in a very smooth and nice way. So now that we have this, we want to go ahead and begin to add the rest of the text. So I'm going to make a copy of this and we are going to add the name of this preacher. And we're going to zoom out. And now the host, what we want to do, the same thing, but I am going to put the host name on the bottom. So I'm going to zoom in. So I'm going to highlight and change the color to like a deeper red, something like that. And we're going to add the name of the host. So I'm going to just type the name of the host, Reverend. I'm going to highlight and we want to change that font to Scriptina. And what I'm going to do is I want to change everything to lowercase, only the first name, only the first initials will be uppercase. So I'm going to highlight and I'm going to fix this one. And we are going to move that right there. And I'm going to change the color to white so it reads much better. And the host is going to be like that. I'm actually thinking of changing the color of the host to, let's say, the honey mustard, so it reads much more. I'm going to zoom out. This looks very good. So far, if you noticed, I did a little bit of a tweaking from what I posted on the community page, but that's okay. You know, we are artists and we can tend to change things up depending on how we see it. So now that we have this, what I'm going to do is that I want to add the rest of the information in terms of the time and the date. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type in, so I'm going to highlight and we're going to choose a different font, that is the BBAS Noir. And you know that I use this font a lot. So I'm going to set that right here. I'm going to highlight. I'm going to change the style. So I'm going to go back to the B-bus. I have a thinner B-bus stroke, so I'm going to use that instead and change that to regular. So it's still visible. We're going to zoom out. So now we have our title, our date. So the next thing that we want to add is the time. Obviously, they need to know what time to attend the event. So I'm going to take my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to zoom in and I want to create a vertical line just like that. I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to change my color. I'm going to go for a red this time. Hopefully that works. I'm going to click OK. With my paint bucket, I'm going to fill that in. Control D to deselect. That looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and add my time. So I'm going to make a duplicate. So the last thing that we want to do is to let everybody know where this event is going to be. We are going to bring in some few images of logos of Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube where this event is going to be aired. So I'm going to pick my rectangular marquee tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle like so. And I want to create a new layer. And then I'm going to click on my foreground image, foreground color, and I'm going to change that to red. And I'm going to pick my gradient tool, but this time I want to make sure that my gradient is from solid to transparent. And now that I have that, I'm going to do this. So we're going to go to our folder and we want to bring in, first of all, the Facebook, and we're going to set it right there. We're going to scale it all the way down. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to move this somewhere here. We still need to zoom, crop it down just a little bit more. I'm going to set it right there. And notice that I'm aligning everything. So this is being aligned with the P. I'm going to double click to deselect. So with my move tool and my image selected, we want to go to image adjustment and hue contrast. And we're going to take the lightness all the way to 100. Click OK. And notice that once you take the lightness, you basically remove the color out of your image. We're going to get also the other two images. I'm going to bring this in. And notice that you really can see the YouTube very well. So we're going to double click on our layer, and we're going to add a little bit of a drop shadow effect so we can still see it. I'm going to, or you can actually add a stroke. When you add a stroke, that makes it even much more better. Or I can even take my gradient and stretch it just like that, so it's not too much. I'm going to double click on my image to take off the stroke effect, to take off the shadow, so it still pops. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go to Image Adjustment Brightness, and we're going to increase the brightness of that so it shows, the red shows a little bit more better. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to zoom out so we can see this very well. If you want the hue to also be white, we can click on it with our foreground as white. We'll pick our bucket, and we're going to click within the text and just change it to that. Or you can just get a logo that is all white. With this set for us, all we need to do now is to add the website and also the Facebook or the social media page, so people can go there and watch the live stream. To add that, I'm just going to create a duplicate of this text. And I'm going to zoom out so you can see everything. And if you want to add a logo, you can go ahead and add your own logo. So a church logo, if for that matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click back on my X, the background image. I'm going to make a duplicate. And as you can see, that is really popping. So you have something like this. Even if you want, you can double click again and then add a new one, and then we can shift that. So we have something like this effect that is going on. And we can do one more and shift that too, just like that. So now we have really created a very fun background of which we have our flyer. So this is the end of it, but like I always do, you know me, I like to create one single file. So to do that, what do? You select the bottom layer, you go all the way up, you hold down your shift, select the top layer, and then you want to group them by clicking on the group folder. Once we have it grouped, you want to press on Shift, Control, Alt, E, and Photoshop will generate one file for you. I really like this. I don't think I want to change it, but then again, let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go to Filter, Camera Raw, and then you want to play with your saturation, but maybe the vibrance. I want to play with that just a little to get it more cozy and rich, something like this. And I want to increase the contrast just like that. Just like that. I'm going to click OK. So now, then again, it's always preference. You might like this, you might like the other one better. So this is just for you to play with. So this is the before, which I like very much. And this is also the after, which looks very cool. So if you want one versus the other, is all preference. So guys, this brings us to the end of another fun tutorial. I hope you found this very interesting, creative ways of changing up your background. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for all future uploads. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.